What was your worst let's never speak about this ever again moment? Expecting an eBay purchase, opened the box to find mom's new vibrator. Never ever speak of it again. Never happened. Nice weather we're having today? Yeah, but your mom's vibrator sounds like thunder. When I was a child, I was at my grandparents' place playing hide and seek with all my cousins. My cousin and I decide to hide behind the semi-transparent glass door on the shower. The bathroom door opens and someone walks in. We stay silent in our hiding spot. It turns out that our grandfather, who was not participating in the game of hide and seek, needed to take a dump. As we realize what is happening, we have a moment of indecisiveness, looking at each other trying to decide if we should announce our hiding spot. During this moment, Grandpa drops Tro, sits down, and starts dropping deuce. We silently sit there, a mere feet away from our pooping grandfather. He finishes, washes his hands and leaves. We wait a minute and emerge from the bathroom. We have never talked about it since. Similar thing happened to me, except my cousins were fast enough to run out when the older female relative, I still have no idea who it was, walked in. I was too shy and tried to wait it out, but finally the smell got too horrible and I ran out while she was still on the toilet. As adults, one of my older cousins tried to bring it up, but I pretended I didn't remember. I was about to leave a house party, so I went to retrieve my coat from a bedroom I had left it in. Walked in on two of my friends having sex, both male. Nobody had a clue they were gay. That was 15 years ago and we've never spoken about it. Now they are both married to women. Just bros bangin' bros, no biggie. Walked in on my roommate back in college jerking off. I saw it all. We both looked at each other and in a complete monotone voice we both simultaneously fake screamed. I left the room, washed my hands in the bathroom, and came back. We never talked about it. When my friend managed to make himself vomit in my living room by telling us about another occasion when he vomited. The reason why we don't talk about it is that he would just vomit again. Have a similar story about a friend who, at a festival and off his face, was telling a story about how one time he shat himself and, well, you can guess what happened next. I woke up in the most extreme and horrible pain I had and still have ever experienced. I could only take shallow breaths. Even moving my hands sent me so much agony that my vision was blurring. I managed to use my knuckles to pinch my BF awake and barely whisper 911. I am beginning to come to terms with my own death. I'm pretty sure that something has ruptured and that I will be dead before I get help. I've got tears running down my face and I'm thinking about my mom and how much I miss her. The EMT folks show up, strap me to a board, lug me down 2 flights of stairs and rush me to the ER. The doctor pushes on my gut and I finally let out a throat scratching scream. I was dizzy from the pain at this point and the pain is so unbearable that I don't even want to breath anymore. After sonograms and painkillers, the doctor comes in to inform me that they couldn't see any of my organs on my sonogram. I am freaking the frick out. Where the frick did my organs go? They couldn't see my organs because I was so full of gas. The doctor told me that sometimes severe gas can be more painful than an aneurysm. He gave me something dissolvable and a saline IV and I spent the next 2 hours farting in my room. And that is the story of my $15,000 fart. Freezing rain struck unexpectedly during our cold weather hike. It got dark and the temperature dropped quickly. 38°F, 35°F, 33°F. Freezing rain all the while. So we decided to stop moving and set up camp. We both got soaked setting up our small 2-man tent. Temperature falling to 27°F, 25°F. Still raining, not mercifully sleeting or snowing, which would give us the chance to brush off the precipitation. Our hastily chosen campsite was on a slight grade, and we could see water running underneath the tent floor, between the dropcloth tarp and the waterproof tent bottom as we took off our fully saturated light-duty rain gear, our soaked layers, soaked SCKS and boots, all the way down to just underwear. The thermometer on my pack was reading 17°F now. Still, somehow, rain, with my body temperature slightly lowered and the sleeping bag's insulation much less effective now that it was wet, I reached down and felt that my boxer shorts were actually frozen. My friend, let's call him B, and I had read about this and knew what to do. We had to get in the same sleeping bag to conserve body heat to avoid hypothermia. Both of us had our boxer shorts frozen solid, and that kind of thing near your core only steals valuable energy, so we both took off our boxer shorts. I was looking worse than B in terms of color and circulation, so we looked at each other, knowing this was a never speak of it again moment upcoming. But really Marizo focused on preventing actual injury or harm to either of us. Fully naked, I got into B's sleeping bag, where he was also fully naked. I've had a lot of good friends in my life, but only one get naked and spoon to keep you alive friend. All levity aside, B literally saved my life by doing so. When we got into town the next day, both of us were fine. No lost toes or anything, but a nurse advised us that we were just barely on the okay side of the hypothermia line. A true bro, but we will never speak of it again, not ever. A naked guy who is willing to spoon a fellow naked guy is a true friend. A beautiful story of the power of friendship. I visited my friend at his college and went to a party. Got absolutely trashed. Barely remember it. I woke up the next morning in my friend's room without underwear and wearing a different pair of shorts than I went to sleep in. Asked him why the frick I was commando in a strange pair of gym shorts. Turns out in the middle of the night I had gotten up, stumbled towards the radiator in his room, half pulled my pants down, and diarrheaed all over his radiator, the floor, and the back of my underwear pants. I didn't believe him till he showed me the crap covered underwear laying in the garbage. I paid him $65, all the money in my wallet, to never, ever tell anyone about it. Fell asleep in the library on campus. I live an hour away so I can't come and go when I need a nap. Had a wet dream and came in my pants. Still had 2 hours of class later that day. Not a fun experience. This reminds me of the pep rally for homecoming during my freshman year of high school. I thought it was just a fart and it was super painful, so I tried to be discreet while I was in the bleachers. It was not just a fart. Longest bus ride home of my life. My wife and I, early days of the relationship though, had been out at a club in Glasgow and were wandering back, mind-blowingly drunk, to our student accommodation. We started having a drunken argument and ended up sitting in this sort of courtyard away from the road to hash it out. When we were eventually friends again we continued on our journey home. Woke up in the morning 7 AM, horribly hungover, to this awful stench. I peeled back the covers to find both myself and my wife fully dressed and absolutely covered in crap. Checked myself, clean. Checked her, also clean. Turns out when we'd taken a load off in that courtyard we'd both sat in a large amount of dog crap. Later research confirmed the courtyard to be a particularly crappy area. As we tossed and turned in the night we'd spread the crap around the sheets and all over ourselves. To be fair, we do tell that story to friends and family. What we don't tell them, however, is that upon acknowledging our situation we both agreed to deal with it later and stayed in bed for another 3 hours. This one time in high school, I cussed class, walked home, took a few massive bong hits and then went skinny dipping in my folks' pool. It was exhilarating good fun. So I get out of the pool and just kinda lay around air drying, ripping more bong hits, just enjoying being high as a kite and naked in the backyard, when I hear a car pull up in my driveway. Oh frick, my dad came home on his lunch break. I stash the bong in the shed and race up the stairs into my bedroom before he gets to the front door. I'm thinking I'm safe. I'm thinking dad just wants to make himself a sandwich and hit the road. Nope. I hear dad walking up the stairs, so as an extra precaution, I jump in my closet, still naked, mind you. As I hear him open my bedroom door, it suddenly dawns on me, dad came home for a midday wank, and he intends to raid my pee stash. My pee stash that I keep in my bedroom closet. Dad opens the closet door and all I can think to say is, occupied. Embarrassed and shocked for the both of us. He immediately closes the door, walks out of my bedroom, exits the house, gets in his car, and goes back to work. 15 years later, neither one of us have ever mentioned it. This is almost too good to be true. Around age 10 or 11, one of my best friends and I made out because we wanted to know what it was like to French kiss someone. We didn't want to not do it right if a boy ever tried, so we just practiced on each other. We've never spoken of it again and have been friends for 30+ years. When I was 7 I had a funky rumble in my stomach and ran to the bathroom. When I closed and locked the door I was facing the toilet but my backside was facing the bathtub. For some reason I chose to start dropping my garments where I stood, rather than right in front of the toilet so I could immediately sit down afterward. As soon as my pants hit my ankles I realized the turd was coming out that instant and my only option was to sit on the edge of the bathtub and throw mud. I did exactly that. Afterward I yelled for my mother, proceeded to explain to her why a large yellow poo was in the tub, and asked her not to speak of this to anyone, not even my father. She never did. Mom the real MVP. She told your dad. One time while gaming on my PC, Armor 3 if you are wondering, I had this aching pain on my butthole. I go to the bathroom and feel around and feel a knot. I bend over, look in the mirror, and see a tick right on my freaking butthole. I tried pulling with all my might but couldn't get the sucker out. I haven't shaved in a long while so I was pretty hairy at the time. I had no choice but to call in my grandpa to help. I bent over. He is pretty much fingering my butthole and pulls the tick off. Pretty embarrassing. Keep your mouth shut. I was at a Subway in DC and asked the guy behind the counter for a football meat long. He tried to be nice and play it off like he didn't hear what I said. I'm sorry, what? So I repeated my order for a football meat long. I realized what I'd said after I heard several giggles. I haven't been back to that Subway since. Then you repeat your order forcefully. You demand a football meat long. You deserve your football meat long. My girlfriend and I came back to her college dorm after a party and I passed out in her roommate's bed hammered drunk. I woke up completely naked with her roommate asleep in bed with me and the whole mattress was sopping with what seemed like 10 gallons of my stinky BAP. My girlfriend was just glaring at me and her roommate asked why the bed was soaking wet. I told her I sweat a lot when I drink. My girlfriend and I stripped the sheets, put them in the wash, and went and had a silent breakfast. I didn't know her roommate actually believed the sweat story, so she was surprised when I apologized for pee her bed when we got back from breakfast. Talk about blowing up your own spot. A few years after we broke up I asked my now ex if she remembered that morning and she said she had no idea what I was talking about. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. I had insomnia and was extremely sleep deprived. I had barely slept in 6 days at all and I was surprised that I was still on my feet and functional. You will later see I overestimated my functionality. I decided that day 6 of no sleep would be a good day to go to the DMV. Background: this was my 3rd trip there in the past couple months. I had needed a letter regarding car registration from someone who had moved overseas. The first letter I had gotten apparently didn't have the correct info and the DMV had refused to register the car. On that trip I had asked them exactly what needed to be in the letter and they told me. I sent away and finally had that letter. Event: I stood in line at the DMV, exhausted but so glad I would finally be getting this registration done. I get to the counter and the woman tells me that I don't have the right information in the letter. I tell her that is exactly what I was told to put in the letter. We have a brief conversation where I express my frustration and I ask to speak to her supervisor. She tells me to go stand by another counter and the supervisor will come. The supervisor comes and I make it clear that this is what I was told to bring and I want my registration. Supervisor doesn't care what I want and tells me there is one piece of info missing and there is nothing to be done except to send away for another letter. There is a volcano building inside where I start to further express my frustration and the likelihood that no letter will ever be the right letter and they are pretty much conspiring to never let me register my car. I start to get louder and angrier. Now everyone in the room is quiet and staring at me. The women at the counter have stopped working and are looking at me. I have brought the DMV to a standstill. So then I realize that I am probably acting too angry and I need to tone it down. This rush of no registration suffering comes over me and I burst into tears. Tears I can't control. I now sobbingly detail every step I have taken to get to this moment and how it has all been for naught. The supervisor has now backed up away from me against the wall and is looking at me like I am scaring her. Everyone is still staring at me and the supervisor tells me I need to leave or they will call the police. At that moment a flash of realization as to the ludicrousness of this situation hits me and I burst into laughter. I can't stop laughing. The tears are rolling down my face as I laugh louder and louder. I decide I should probably head out. The crowd parts before me like Moses and the Red Sea, and I run out of the building and jump in my car. Pretty much drove straight to the doctor and asked for sleeping pills. Once I got off the phone to my mum asking me to come home when I was at my friend's, and when I was saying goodbye I leaned down. He was sitting for a kiss. I guess I brain farted and thought he was my mum or something. It still gets spoken about, but I wish we could never speak about it again. Didn't kiss. Oh my god, please tell me you actually made lip to skin contact before you realized what was happening. Freshman year of college, my friend and I were driving to Taco Bell for some 1 AM cheesy crunch gorditas. We passed this guy on the road freaking stalking around barefoot in shorts and a t-shirt in like 20-degree weather on the side of the road in the shadows. He's holding something, but I can't quite see what it is. I think it's a rifle. He's scanning the area, like he's searching for something. For a second it's pointed at us as we pass, but he keeps searching for whatever it is he's looking for. We debate whether it was a rifle in his hands while we wait for our cheesy gordita crunches. We both think it is, and we both say little more than what the frick. Then we decide to go back the same way, because we must just be really stoned and there's no way we saw what we thought we saw. So we drive back the same way, and he's still there, except this time, he's waiting for us. He's pointing the rifle at us. I saw a look of pure determination in his eyes, and I've never seen anyone with that look in my life. That was a look you can only have when you stare down an enemy you're prepared to kill. That alone scared the crap out of me. But then he's aiming this object, which I am now increasingly certain is a rifle, at my friend and I, and following us with it as we pass. My friend and I both scream like 40-year-old former sorority sisters who haven't seen each other since the previous sorority sisters' wedding 4 years ago, but still pretend like they're just as close as they were in college, and I stomp on the gas. We both calm down and discuss how that was the scariest thing that's ever happened to us, and we both legitimately were afraid we were gonna die. I get back to my dorm and call the cops. They say they'll need to come take my statement, and I tell them I would prefer not to and don't see a reason to. I just wanted them to know there's a dude walking down the street pointing a rifle at passers-by, because I thought that would be something the police should be interested in. However, I was not interested in talking to the cops about me seeing that guy at 130 am, when they should just be going to check it out for the sake of public safety. I got a call from an officer at like 3 AM letting me know they found the guy. It was an Iraq war vet having flashbacks. He was carrying a stick, not a rifle. And now I'm sad. I sent a Snapchat with my naked boyfriend in the background to one of our mutual friends. I don't know who's more embarrassed about it out of the three of us. There was a YouTube video with a muffin a few years back where he repeatedly exclaimed, "My anus is bleeding." I always imitated that video, until one day I'm laying down and I feel the worst pain in my behind in my life. So I go to the bathroom, lo and behold, my anus was actually bleeding. So I start freaking out since I'm a crazy hypochondriac and call my mom into the room. She made me bend over to see if I had a cut, then asked me if I was having anal sex in the park. It was weird and embarrassing as heck. My spoon is too big. Before I was able to drive, my girlfriend always drove us to dates and stuff, so I would always lean over and kiss her before getting out of the car. Fast forward, my buddy is dropping me off at home and without thinking I'll lean over with pursed lips and go for a kiss. He was clearly put off. My eyes flew wide open when I realized what I was doing, but it was too late. Now it looks like I went for a kiss, didn't get it and was shocked about not getting kissed. I'm now worried I may do this someday. Thanks for the heads up. A lizard climbed up my shorts leg and I pee myself. I was old enough to have bladder control, so I DK what happened. I was in front of maybe 3 other people, so it wasn't as bad as it could be, I suppose. Still, I would rather not anybody I know. I was visiting my family in the Bay Area for about a week. I had been there multiple times and had kinda done everything once. I'm a hot springs enthusiast and I had read that there were several north of the Bay Area. I did some more research and found several to go check out that were about an hour away. So, I got my mom and sister convinced to go with me, and my sister invited her boyfriend. We drove the hour up to the springs area and it turned out that the majority of them were resorts. They were concrete pools at hotels where you had to get a room for the night. I kept asking at the front desks if there were some that would sell a day pass. They all said, yes, there is one place over the pass that will sell you a day pass. Okay, let's go. It takes another 45 minutes or so to get there, and when we do we buy the day passes and go in. Well, as soon as we pulled up to the main area we knew something was up. Why? Because everyone was walking around naked. I had inadvertently taken my mom, sister, and sister's BF to a nudist resort. They all changed, but I was like, frick it, I'm not going to be the only one with clothes on. So I went bareback. Needless to say my fam was a little shocked. Finally we got in the pools and I swam over near my sister and her BF and all she could say with a strained look on her face was "Yacht." We were there for about an hour, cause they couldn't handle the weirdness. The car ride home was silent. Finally at dinner we all had a good laugh about it. But yeah, let's never speak of this again. TL. DR. Took mom, sister's BF to a nudist resort on accident. Got naked. Weirded them out. My ex's parents did this to me once by accident too. We tried to find a quiet part of the beach. Didn't realize it was quiet because everyone was naked. We didn't get naked. We found a quiet spot to ourselves but people kept walking past us with nothing on. I was glad I was wearing sunglasses because it made accidental staring less obvious. Dong swing. Movement draws your eyes' attention. This is my first throwaway account post because I can't bear to post this on my main. When I was about 10/11 I had this really close best friend. I'm a guy, and we're still close best friends. One day we were playing PlayStation 2 in my room as kids do. Randomly we start sitting close to each other and me being a confused about my sexuality little boy, decide it is a good idea to pull down my shorts and give him a hug. What the frick is wrong with me? Never spoke about it again and it still haunts me in my sleep. When I read 10/11, I first thought that you were rating yourself and said out loud that this is not how rating works. At least not on Reddit. When I was 16 my best friend and I were drunk and dancing around her living room at night, and 4 army lads saw us and knocked on the door. Being freaking idiots, we let them in. We hung out with them for a while, then got uncomfortable and asked them to leave. On the way out, one of them forcibly stuck his hand down the front of my pants. We had to basically bundle them out. She and I have never spoken of it again. At the time, I think it was to avoid incurring the wrath of my psycho boyfriend. But years later we are both, I suppose, just so embarrassed about it. It's odd because she never usually misses an opportunity to humiliate me lol. But this has remained unspoken of for 9 years now and I feel if either of us brought it up, it would be like a law of the universe had been broken. The other would likely faint in shock. That's because that was sexual assault. You don't just casually bring up sexual assault. My father beat me with the wrong end of a belt while he was drunk. Cut me in 4 places with the buckle. Required 34 stitches. He told the pediatrician I fell out of a tree. Never told anyone. Finally working on it now. 44 years later. Thanks, Reddit. You're welcome. But we here at Reddit think you should also seek out a therapist. I ran out of a room on a class trip to vomit in the toilet, but didn't get that far and let loose on the carpet. Looked round, saw a friend make out with his best friend's girlfriend in the corner of the room. Looks were exchanged, words were not uttered. He still swears his best friend sent you to cockblock him. I was traveling through Asia with some friends. In one place in Cambodia I was sharing a double bed with one of my friends. One night we have a particularly rowdy night at the bars. At about midnight my friend comes up to me and tells me he's heading in early. This is fine because I had been chatting up a girl. Fast forward a few hours. I had been making out with this girl for a while so I ask if she wants to go back to her place. Unfortunately it doesn't work out for me so I make my way home. As I was about to pass out I remember thinking what if the girl was in my bed. Next thing I know I'm making out with the girl I was with. This goes on for about 5 minutes until I reach down south and get a nasty surprise. After I yelled out we both woke up and reassessed our life decisions. TR thought I was making out with a girl, ended up fondling my friend's hard penis. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.